are leading the way, particularly in the carbon market. Close to home, we have the regional greenhouse gas inventory, which is composed of 10 northeastern states, of which New York is one. And recent economic analysis has shown that RGGI will represent over $1 billion in traded carbon offsets within the next 3 years. A few weeks ago, legislation was passed in California, making it the first state with a statewide carbon cap and trade market. This market is projected to be worth about $10 billion in carbon credits by 2016. Across the globe, we see regions leading these kinds of carbon markets. That's evident in China, and Australia and Canada are also working on climate change legislation and the development of carbon markets. What we feel the NES is a part of is this cross-sector collaboration between businesses, environmental nonprofits, and local governments as we all search for innovative and effective strategies for restoring the environment in the face of climate change. So for our purposes, the question then becomes, is there willingness among landowners to develop these kinds of credits? So now Ashley's going to talk about how we will engage all of our stakeholders.
Hi, my name is Ashley Poon, and I will be talking about the last question that we addressed in our research, which is, are landowners willing to participate in the payment for ecosystem market program that we're looking to set up in the Hudson Valley, Catskills, and Adirondacks region. So we've put together a marketing strategy that will put all of our research into practice. And what our marketing strategy will deliver is an overview of the demographics, what the stakeholders look like that we're looking to engage with, both on the supply and demand side, and then secondly, we'll look at how best to engage with the stakeholders in order to incorporate their values and opinions into the implementation and structure of our market. The third step in our marketing strategy is to gauge what landowners' current awareness is about ecosystem services and ecosystem markets in order to assess what more they need to know before committing to such a program. And lastly, we've created a program for engaging the community. So as Sonia pointed out, we have a general idea of what landowners in our program area looks like. They're mostly in their 40s and 50s. They have an average median income of $48,000, and the average household size is 2. And so knowing this, we'll have a better idea of how best to engage with them. So the next step in our strategy is stakeholder engagement, and we want to create partnerships with current community groups and environmental organizations in the program area. We've identified some of these organizations and groups, and so by working with these groups, we hope to identify landowners that have already demonstrated a commitment to conserving their ecosystems and a commitment to engaging in their communities. And we hope that by working with these landowners, they'll also be able to spread the word with their friends and neighbors about the NES program. Using these, we're also hoping to work with local traditional forms of media, such as newspapers, TV, and radio, such as the ones up here, in order to spread the word about our program. And using these partnerships, we will conduct surveys targeted to both landowners and the potential buyers that Elizabeth pointed out earlier. We want to know how much they already know about ecosystem services and ecosystem markets. A previous program with the DEC, the New York City Watershed Agreement, was a partnership between New York City's the New York City agencies and upstate communities, so we believe landowners might have an idea of what ecosystem services are, but we want to know exactly how much they know and what more they'll need to know before moving forward. The next step in our marketing strategy is to create an education agenda. We've put together a preliminary brochure detailing what ecosystem services are and the specific ecosystem services that exist in our program area. And this will be useful in further educating landowners about our program. And lastly, we hope to conduct interactive tours in the program area using local experts from colleges such as Bard College in Paul Smith College, which are located in our program area, in order to give landowners and potential buyers an idea of what ecosystem services look like on the ground. And we also hope to conduct informational workshops in order to meet them face-to-face, in order for buyers and sellers to meet with each other and for us to engage with their concerns. And so lastly, Rachel will be just summarizing all of our findings from the program and suggesting some next steps moving forward.
Hi, my name is Rachel Ross, and I will be concluding our presentation and the night. You guys all look very excited to still be here. After researching for the past few months, we believe that there is significant evidence in support of launching and growing ecosystem markets in upstate New York to achieve our goals. Namely, we believe that these markets can and will function to conserve the pristine ecosystems of the region by providing additional income to private landowners who are facing economic pressure to subdivide and develop. Based on our data of the social and environmental characteristics of the region, we have found that there is sufficient supply and demand to allow these markets to prove themselves. With the growth of CSR departments, green finance, and social ventures, and the increased environmental awareness, we believe that demand will continue to rise. While our research has focused mainly on carbon and wetland markets, many other ecosystem markets appear promising, and we recommend that further research be conducted to assess their viability. We advise that a marketing strategy like the one we have designed be carried out in order to inform private landowners of these income opportunities on their land. And while new regulations are not necessary for a successful ecosystem market, stricter laws will increase demand and market prices. We hope that our findings provide a valuable platform in the continuation of this project. The most exciting feature of the NES Capstone is its ability to scale up. This is a pilot project, and where proper conditions exist, its success in providing sustainable growth can be multiplied across the globe. We believe this is the future of ecosystem conservation, and the scope of its potential success is profound. As humans continue to populate and pollute the earth, the value of ecosystem services will increase, and so too will the demand for their conservation and restoration. And as web-based tools continue to make our lives faster and easier than ever, we envision that ecosystems can be conserved and money made with a click of a button. On behalf of the NES Group, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a long night, and we appreciate your interest in our project and for this opportunity to share our findings with you. We'll now open the floor for questions.
Oh, should we get the rest of our group up here? Yeah. We can all fit.
So it seems to me you potentially have one major competitor that can pay people to keep their land undeveloped and claim that there's environmental benefits, which is fracking. Right? And I imagine that many of your same constituents that you're targeting have been targeted by fracking, right? Which claim you can get anywhere from $4,000 an acre plus 12% of the profit per year for the natural gas that's there. And the claim, right, is that not only is it not harming your land, but that it's helping the environment at large. So I'm wondering if you've thought about this with your sort of marketing strategy for these people.
Well, the hope is with correct regulations and policies in place, inherently the prices for carbon, for example, go up in the market, since they're all market-based tools. With increasing demand in ecosystem services, the price of a certain credit in carbon also increases, as well as demand for wetlands increase, also the price for them will increase. So as price increases, that also entails that the profits for private landowners also increase. So we could only hope that that could balance out what fracking companies offer to private landowners, but we're hopeful.
Thank you.
Is there anything kind of notable that you learned from the Chesapeake Bay kind of projects that do exist that may or may not apply to your project area?
Well, we looked at the Chesapeake region through the land server tool, online tool that actually helps you once you put in the necessary data and the parameters for your certain land. It generates all the potential markets and services that your land could potentially provide. So the Chesapeake region and the land servers kept the service area for the land servers and the database isn't far enough in New York State right now, but it is under construction as we speak, and it will be delivering in the near future.
And also one failure of their project was outreach, so we wanted to build on that and have a big chunk of our project just for outreach to getting private landowners to participate.
One other thing I mentioned that we talked about in connection to Land Server, they have a wide array of ecosystem services that they assess on any given plot of land. But what our aim was to try to diversify and broaden the ecosystem service markets. And one particular example would be renewable energy. That's one thing that's missing from the Chesapeake Bay. So that was one way that where we learned something from them and wanted to improve on that.
Did you guys incorporate any sort of enforcement or monitoring system to make it a little more reliable than the current carbon credit thing that the government's trying to push?
We did not incorporate any policy, but our only assumption with policy and carbon was that when the markets are regulated, the prices are inherently go up for carbon. So the $10 estimate that we took from for our example was an estimate that would only happen with a regulated carbon market. With the voluntary markets, prices don't. Yeah.
And also with wetland credits, for example, they're basically based on negotiations. So that implies that there's going to be monitoring and compliance in the negotiation. So there's already established every 10 years, the person paying for those credits will hire people to go back and make sure that it's working. So.
And I think the carbon credit is now going for about $17 right now, so this was fairly underestimate.
And also regulations from markets to markets also vary on the specifics of the market, so there aren't one all-encompassing regulation when it comes to markets for more carbon.
In any of your research related to the natural gas fracking, I mean, most people would agree that natural gas fracking is an environmentally destructive and dangerous practice. As he alluded, it sounds like a plausible scenario that you could sign a lease, have natural gas fracking on your property, and also receive native ecosystem services. Well, let's say you still have the trees. You have the trees.
Well, but there is a certain catch to it. I mean,
is there something that precludes you?
Yeah, there is a certain agreement when you undergo when you start issuing your credit for your wetland. You're also agreeing that you will not inhibit your land's natural processes by, for example, letting it frack or signing a lease for fracking. So once you issue a credit for your piece of land for a wetland credit, then that's as far as it goes for you, for your piece of land. I mean.
That certainly makes sense, but what about for forestry, for carbon?
For carbon? Well, for carbon, for any reason, if the act of fracking, if it's actually environmentally destructive, then you could only assume that the amount of carbon dioxide sequestration that your trees are going to provide are going to go down. So inherently in the system that if you assign your land to a certain fracking agreement, then you could only assume that the amount of sequestration of carbon for your land would go down. But no, there isn't any but like I said, the regulations for carbon depend on certain markets. In the markets that we've looked at, which are the RGGI and the Chicago Climate Exchange and a number of other voluntary markets, no, there aren't any binding arguments that you can trade carbon credits and you can lease it for fracking.
It's in some way, scientifically, it's somewhat separate, but
yeah,
ethically, it's not.
So that's why you need further regulation and policy.
Well, one continuing question in this realm is, have there been any explorations into devising a third market?
Well, yeah.
Or just basically paying landowners specifically not to sign leases?
Yeah, for example, yeah, the two
Easements.
easement? Are you talking like a conservation easement where they sign away their
Well-
land in perpetuity and they're not allowed to develop?
If that includes signing a fracking lease, then yes.
Well, I don't think fracking leases are forever. I feel like there's a time limit on fracking leases, and when you sign away your land for a conservation easement, that transcends all space and time, and you're not allowed to touch it or
Even after you
develop it.
sell that land,
Sure.
the,
So what if a landowner's got 1,000 acres?
Yeah.
And, okay, on 2 acres, I'm gonna let them do fracking. I mean, that's essentially, as far as that can cause all the damage you need, but can they bifurcate, can they sign an easement, can they get their easement on the other thing and then have the 2 acres be separate? That's,
Well, yeah, I understand your point, but it certainly depends on the certain markets. You can't put all the you can't assume as the unified regulation for our markets. For example, like I said, for the wetlands, if you go for the wetland credit, you can't go for the fracking because it's a binding agreement on your piece of land that you're not going to inhibit its natural processes. But for the carbon, yes, it is. You can do that. But the idea is to replicate a bunch of market schemes like this, not just wetland and not just forest, but also, for example, the credits for a certain certified good that comes from the forest from your land, for example, and ideally for every single ecosystem service that your land provides. So in that way, hopefully, if that ever happens, but it's promising, then it could be assumed that your land could be providing you enough profit for you not to sign the fracking lease. But for now, we're binded with the water quality, the wetland credits and the carbon credits.
Also, I think it's safe to assume that landowners who want to preserve the pristine ecosystems on their region and who know the drawbacks of fracking will not do both at the same time. I mean, yeah, they could, but they're trying to preserve their land and they know fracking's.
Well, assuming they want to do the right thing, you wouldn't need that incentive anyway, perhaps. But the ones that, I think it's more difficult for the areas where there's perhaps not even great forest, the areas that you showed, like outside of your study area for sure, to the west, where there isn't as much forest cover to preserve, and that their options are limited in the 2 markets that you were looking at. And so then can you do something positively? Might be a further.
If we identify new markets that landowners can potentially make profit of, then yes, there is something we can do. But if not, on a market basis, no. Then we need the government to actually step in and tell these landowners, okay, this is your water. The watershed provides 9 million people up downstate, a service worth billions if it were up to the state. If you want to mess with that, then mess with that. That's where the government comes in and with strict policies and regulations. But in terms of markets, no, there's nothing we can do about it.
Try harder. You can do it.
All right.